Hello there, mate. This is an Enchantment of Eternity review for Moon Knight. This video is part of a series of videos where I review. God damn it, my British accent's so horrible, isn't it? My apologies to any of the British viewers watching that. That was atrocious. Anyway, welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Moon Knight, Season 1. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review not episodes, but I review Marvel shows. Here we go. And I'm reviewing the latest Marvel show to come out on Disney Plus, Moon Knight. Season 1. Let's just call it Season 1 out of hope. Anyway, this video will contain spoilers for the entire show of Moon Knight, or entire first season, as they say. So if you haven't seen up to the very end of the first season, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, if you watch some of my Star Trek Picard reviews, I talked about how much I love Moon Knight because I was sick of talking about Picard because that show sucked. And I was like, I'd rather talk about Moon Knight because it's actually a good show. And so here I am to do that refreshingly, to talk about a good show. So Moon Knight is a comic book character I've vaguely heard of. Like, I heard a reference to, but I've never read any of the comics. I have zero knowledge of this character. In fact, the one thing I heard, someone try to explain what he's like, and they say, oh, it's kind of like Marvel's version of Batman. And watching this, I'm like, no. Like, I don't know how you would get that. It doesn't seem anything like Batman to me, but maybe the comics are different. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I came into this completely blind and new. It's just a MCU show that I want to watch, so I'll watch it, and it's got Oscar Isaac in it, so hey, I was going to check it out, and I kind of like that. I think it helped my experience of the show, like not knowing anything about it, because, as I said, I really love this show. Especially at the start, the first couple episodes I thought were amazing. It was a really good hook to the way they introduced the character of Stephen Grant, and you follow his life. He's kind of a pathetic, lonely guy who works at a museum. He's just like a clerk, and he knows more than he's really intelligent. He knows a lot about Egyptian stuff, but people don't take him seriously. His boss is a bit of a dick to him, and he has no luck with the ladies, and you feel sorry for him, and the first episode did such a great job of introducing this character, and of course Oscar Isaac, unlike me, is actually very good at doing a British accent, and so he totally sold it. In fact, I saw an interview with him where apparently doing the British accent was his idea. Apparently in script it was going to be an expat American living in England, but he decided, hey, why don't I just do an accent and we'll show him off as someone who's actually from England. And he did such a honestly, I had me questioning if he was actually British. I was like, wait, is Oscar Isaac British? But no, apparently not. He just does a really good job. Better than Benedict Cumberbatch does with the American accent. But hey, Multiverse of Madness has actually gotten better at it. But anyway, he's still, of course, way better in American accent than I am at my British accent. But I'm not a professional actor movie star, so there we go. Anyway, so the first episode absolutely sold it. I love how the entire episode was from Stephen's perspective, even when you start to get that he started to black out, and the episode would black out, and he would wake up and find himself in a weird spot, and then there would be this weird creature talking to him in his head. It was a really creepy way. I love kind of mind-bending, mind-twisty stuff, and also stuff that deal with mental disorder. Although most Mr. Robot and other fiction that handled DID, it's kind of not what it's actually like and a bit fictionalized, although I've heard some accounts that there are some depictions that are true to that kind of disorder, but of course they highly fictionalize and glamorize it to make it more interesting for a fictional show. But for a fictional show, I thought it really worked, particularly the way it was scripted, the way it was filmed, the way it was edited. It really put you inside the mindset of Stephen Grant. And I love the fact that you find out later in the show that Stephen Grant is in fact the made-up personality, that Mark Spector is the actual person. And I love because you identify more with Steven because that's who you're introduced to, and you think that he is, because he's a normal, average person working at a store, and then all this weird shit starts happening to him. So you think, well, he's like the normal dude, but no, he's actually a construct of Mark Spector, who's like this mercenary who's, this big killer, and he agreed to be the avatar of Khonshu, Moon Knight, who is like this superhero who wears this cape and has these superpowers and goes and fights supervillains. And that's the real person. So that was kind of a flip on the head. But of course, this is a review, but I might as well state the obvious so anyone who's watched this show can obviously see. Oscar Isaac's performance is freaking amazing. He deserves some sort of awards, although this would fall in the TV category and Emmys are bullshit, so who cares about them? But he at least deserves accolades. He did an absolutely amazing job. It's actually one of the best performances I've seen throughout the show, especially in the moments where he is portraying Steven and Mark talking to each other, because you really get the sense that this is two people talking to each other, even though it is performed by one actor. And so he was definitely the selling point of the show, and it was great learning more about Mark gradually as Steven learned more about Mark, because Mark might have been Khonshu's avatar, but Steven was our avatar, the audience's avatar, through into this weird world of Egyptian gods and magical powers and stuff like that. Now, to be honest, I was a bit thrown off about how fantastical this show was, but as I said, I think the way that they slowly introduced you to it, and they did an amazing job introducing the villain of Harrow, who Ethan Hawke did an absolutely amazing job playing. He made him spooky as hell. And I love in the interview, Ethan Hawke said that his goal was to portray Harrow as sane as possible to counter Mark Spector, who was, been insane. And I love that. I love that our superhero, the person for good, the for justice, was the one who with the mental disorder, because it's so often 99% of the time the other way around. It's the villain who has the mental disorder, but this time now it's the superhero. It's our hero, the one who's doing good, who has the mental disorder, and the person who is completely sane is the villain. I kind of love that. It's kind of flips things on its head. And as I said, Ethan Hawke was creepy as hell. Like, in that first episode was a great introduction to this character. The way he spooked me the fuck out when they were in that town and everyone in the town was trying to kill Steven. He had no idea what was going on. A huge selling point. But I will say that I did love the first two episodes the most, and the more the show went on, I think it lost a little bit of quality. Particularly when they first went to Egypt, and I think in episode 3 it felt more like a Bourne action type movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it wasn't as interesting to me as the first 2 episodes. And then episode 4 is like an Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider type adventure where the mummy comes and tries to kill them. And again, nothing wrong with that. It's good fun. It's just, to me, it wasn't as interesting as the first 2 episodes. But episode 5 is a different thing, because I think that by far was the strongest episode of the show. It was more of an emotional selling point, and how it like explained everything about Mark Spector and why he created the character of the personality of Steven. And having that end where he gets killed at the end of episode 4, and all of a sudden he's in this mental institution where you see all the characters you're familiar with, that was a really, really, really freaky, mind-bending thing to do. And I've got to be honest, when I first saw it, I didn't know how to feel about it, because I was worried they were trying to say everything we saw in the first episodes was all inside his head, which would have been terrible writing. But thankfully, no, that's not the way they went. They went with the mental institution being the fiction, which again, it goes along with the theme of the villain being the same one. Is like the mental institution, where it seems like this would be your regular average thing. That was the delusion, the one with all the Egyptian gods going around with superpowers zapping the energy force out of people. That's reality. And so again, I love that flipping everything on its head is really cool. And of course, the whole episode 5 was absolutely amazing. Some of the most powerful stuff dealing with real life tragedy and stuff that people experience, and having an abusive mother who blaming Mark for the death of his young brother. Like, that's tragic. And so you buy that, you totally buy his split and his mental disorder, because no child should have to live and be treated that way. So it was very powerful, extremely powerful. And again, I'm watching this alongside with Picard that tried to do something similar, and it did a fucking terrible job at it. It did such a bad job at it, and he contrasted to this that did such a good job at it. But then you get to episode 6, the finale, and that was extremely rushed, and it came across like a normal, MCU Marvel, let's have a big third act battle, ba 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 ba, and it happened too fast. And I feel like, why wasn't this show 8 episodes? It should have been 8 episodes, because I think they needed at least 2 more episodes rather than just 1 to wrap up the storyline after season 5. I think they could have even done it in 3, to be honest. I think it just happened way too fast, and they relied too much on, Marvel heroes fighting each other. Boom, boom, look at these gods, they're fighting each other, and look at these stakes, the world's going to end, the demons sucking the life force out of everyone. And so it seems to me they lost some of that strong format, that strong character story that they had in the first 5 episodes. Even in episode 3 and 4, which, as I said, I wasn't as big on, they still had the character story behind it. You still had the thing where I love the sort of battle of wits between Mark and Steven, when Steven starts getting close to Layla, and then Mark starts punching him in the face when he kisses her. Like, stuff like that is still good. And of course, Layla finds out that Mark was there when her father was killed, and was hiding this from her. And in fact, the only reason he met her was through the guilt he felt over her father's death, and he never told her about it, which is very powerful. But so they had all that strong character moments throughout the whole first 5 episodes, especially episode 5. And then episode 6 is boom, boom, superheroes fight, bam, bam, bam. So it was a bit, they did have some back and forth between Mark and Steven making peace with themselves. So they did have some character moments, but not enough. I think they needed more episodes to fully do it justice. Just my humble opinion. Now, speaking of Layla, I gotta talk about her, because she was an amazing character. I think the actress who portrayed her did an absolutely amazing job. She held her own. She was right there with Oscar Isaac and his outstanding, amazing performance, and was able to add to that. And plus, I just think she was just an amazingly written character, and as she was a badass in her own right. Like when they had that episode in the tomb where she was fighting the mummy and shit, like I expected like Moon Knight or Mark would come to save the day and save her, but no, he was Steven, he was cowering. She had to save herself. And the sort of character story that she went through, having to deal with meeting Steven, realizing that Mark had a DID, and dealing with that. And I did love, even though that the finale was like a big superhero mashup thing, I did love that she became Howard's avatar and had this nifty outfit and was being a superhero. But again, I just wish they spent more time with that. They fleshed that out a bit more. And plus, they didn't really resolve her storyline. They kind of, because Mark kind of just passed out there at the end, and then all of a sudden he's back in London with this shit around his leg. And so we didn't see what happened to Layla. So I think there definitely needs to be a season 2, sorry. I've heard like they haven't renewed the show yet, and they haven't confirmed the season 2 yet. But the way the season ends, like, it's baking for a season 2. Especially because they hinted at this third personality who we finally meet in the post-credit scene. Which, if you haven't seen the post-credit scene, definitely watch it. Like, honestly, they should have had it as a final scene. It kind of shouldn't be post-credit. It's definitely a part of the show. Because it reveals that the third personality's name is Jake, and he is a homicidal maniac, and he has zero compunction about killing people, unlike Mark, and especially Steven, who don't want to. Like, Steven absolutely will not kill, but Mark will kill when it's necessary, but he's hesitant to do so. But Jake, he doesn't give a fuck. And so Khonshu tricked like Mark and Steven. It's like, yeah, I'll release you, you can go, and he doesn't bother Mark and Steven, but he has Jake as his personal assassin. So we need a season 2. We need to see what becomes of that, and I want to see more of Layla and what became of her. Now Haru, of course, is dead, but they can always come up with a different villain. In fact, Khonshu could in fact be the villain of season 2. Just throwing that out there. And so it's interesting that because Moon Knight is the superhero, but the person who gives Moon Knight his powers, who gives Mark his superhero powers, kind of suspect. Now, I did want to point out some flaws with the show other than the rush finale. I had a major issue in episode 3 where they went to the other Egyptian gods to try to warn them of what Hera was doing, and they were just dismissed it out of hand. Like, whatever, you're dumb, you're crazy, we'll just dismiss you out of hand. That was really frustrating because it was obvious that they were being stupid, they were being obtuse, and then they all got slaughtered in the end because they were being dumb. I'm like, yeah, you deserve to be killed because you're all idiots. And I suppose, like, to be fair, the way that Khonshu and the way that Khonshu and Mark were behaving kind of nuts. They didn't do a good job making their case. Especially Khonshu. He kept, like, going off, oh, kill them, blah, 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 and freaking out instead of, presenting a calm and actually good case. So, but, on the other hand, still, I don't think that's a full excuse because it's fucking obvious the way Haru's behaving, that he was definitely evil and working with Ahmed. I mean, it was so obvious. So now, those people deserve to die because they're idiots. But, I guess, other than the finale being rushed, that's like my main complaints of the season. Otherwise, like, amazing acting, amazing characters, powerful character moments, and just the whole way and I love, like, as I mentioned, the first episode is totally from Steven's mindset. But then, the next episode, I think it's episode 3, was entirely Mark's perspective. And I love that. And, like, when Steven comes, he blacks out, and then you don't see what's happening. Like, I love the way they played with POV and perspective in that matter, and just the way they played with editing. It's beautiful. I loved it. So, my rating for Moon Knight season 1 out of 10 is I'm gonna give this an 8. Extremely good. I was really torn between an 8 and a 9 with this one. But I think the finale drops it from a 9 to an 8. But it's a very strong 8. So it's either a strong 8 or a weak 9. But I think I'll give this a strong 8. Very close to a 9. But yeah, as I said, those people acting like idiots. And then the finale being incredibly rare. If the finale was actually 2 episodes or 3 episodes, then it would be a 9. But because they just rushed it and it was like superhero stuff, boom, that does kind of knock it down to an 8. But it's still a great show. It's still very powerful. Amazing performances, amazing character stories, great way to play with perspective, and great supporting characters like Layla and Haru. So, yeah, absolutely love Moon Knight. It's an absolute pure masterpiece when compared to Picard, which I was watching side by side with it. But of course, any show would be, or most any show. Anyway, that is it for my review of Moon Knight Season 1. Thanks so much for watching this. You can check out my channel. I have pretty much all these other Marvel stuff. I reviewed Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness recently in a live discussion with my sister. I've done like the other MCU shows like Loki and WandaVision, so you can check all that out on my channel, and continue to do reviews on my channel, such as covering all things Star Trek, covering Strange New Worlds, which is actually a good Star Trek show, thank God, and other shows like Better Call Saul, another amazing show, and Star Wars Rebels, The Expanse, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that, and thanks so much for watching.